Today, I would like to talk to you guys about the choice of Hercules. Now, many of us know who Hercules is, and many of us know of Hercules' 12 labors, but I believe less know of the choice that Hercules made earlier in his life. Now, this choice is talked about a lot by the Stoics because it is a choice of virtue or a choice of pleasure. Now, the story goes that Hercules came to a fork in his path. He came to a crossroads, and he sat down and started contemplating which path he was going to take. And then a little bit into his contemplation, a goddess came to him and said, "Take this path. This path leads to a life of ease, a life of pleasure, where you don't have to work very hard. You'll be known. Um, anything you want will be yours. Your life will essentially be easy and be filled with pleasure." And then another goddess came, and Hercules was surprised by this goddess because this goddess was a lot different than the other one. It told Hercules that this path would be hard, that it wouldn't be fun, it wouldn't be easy. It's a very steep path, very hard to climb, but at the end of it is a straight path that is easy, and there's fulfillment at the end. And Hercules famously chose the hard path. He chose the path of virtue, of true happiness, instead of fleeting pleasure and fleeting happiness. And it's safe to say, what what would have Hercules have been without his labors? Hercules would not have been Hercules if he didn't go through hardships, if he didn't have his 12 labors. And for those of you who don't know about Hercules' 12 labors, essentially, I haven't heard the story in a while. I don't know each labor, but I do remember how he pretty sure he has a brother, and one of the goddess wants Hercules' brother to be like king, and she plots against Hercules essentially. And Hercules has to go do all these labors for his brother, and he does them. And the first one's the Nemean lion, which is Hercules' probably most famous labor, where he has to kill the Nemean lion with his bare hands. Um, but he has, and it's supposed to be 10 labors, actually, but two of the labors he is assisted with, and his brother claims that he didn't truly complete the labors like he was supposed to, so he gives him two more. And Hercules has to like go into hell and with meet with Hades and do a bunch of stuff. He has a bunch of crazy labors he's got to do, a bunch of hardships and a bunch of difficulties. But the thing the Stoics remind us is that Hercules was happy while he was doing it. He felt purpose. He was giving life meaning by his journey, and he was becoming virtuous through hardship. So without hardship, there would be no Hercules. And you need to view your life like this. When a hardship befalls you, welcome it as a chance to show strength of character, to build strength of character, to show courage, to show discipline. You need to welcome hardships. You need to welcome difficulty because that's when you truly strive and you truly unlock your potential and you truly become great. Like I said, there would be no Hercules without his labors. There would be no Hercules without his difficulties. And with them, he gained essentially immortality, essentially fulfillment, purpose, deep pleasure, not superficial pleasure. There's people who believe the Stoics are against pleasure, and they're not. They view pleasure as an indifference, neither good nor bad. But there's things that are preferable to the Stoics, and pleasure is preferable if you aren't sacrificing virtue and wisdom for it. Anything that sacrifices wisdom to a Stoic is irrational and is a vice. So if the Stoics also say, it's paradoxical, but a life pursued for pleasure will give you, immense depression. Just going after all these fleeting pleasures will not give you fulfillment, but going after wisdom, true pleasure and true happiness and true joy is just a byproduct. So it's interesting, by not trying to become happy, by not trying to pursue pleasures, you get the deepest pleasures, the ones that stick around, the ones that are worthwhile, the ones that you don't lose your wisdom and your virtue for. And that's what Hercules did. And that's why the Stoics talk about Hercules a lot. And they talk about the choice he made at the crossroads, choosing a life of discomfort, difficulty, and hardship over a life of ease and self indulgence. And by doing so, Hercules became Hercules. Now, I believe there's no need getting lost in the idea of Hercules being real or not, of his labors being real, of him defeating a lion with his bare hands, of him fighting a hydra. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It's the premise of the story has real life implications, and it's wise nonetheless, even if it's not a true story. Same with syphilis. Syphilis. I can never say the name. Um, but the guy who carried the rock up the hill and was doomed to do it for eternity. Right before he got to the top, the rock would roll back down. He was a mischievous king of, I think it was Corinth, and he cheated death twice. The first time he locked death up in chains, and then as the story goes, no one would die. People would be dying of old age, and they should be dead, but they'd keep breathing. Did people be on the battlefield mortally wounded, and they wouldn't die? And then this angered the gods, so eventually death was unchained, and um, then he pulled another one over the gods, and he told his wife not to bury him, but float him down a river, so that when he reached Hades, he told him about what happened to his body after he died, and then Hades granted him, permission to go back to the world to make things straight. And then obviously he was lying, so then he lived many more years, and then when he truly died, the gods, they were fed up, and they wanted him to suffer for, what he did to them, and how he pulled fast ones on them over and over again. So they made him push a rock up a hill for all eternity. And it is said that he was happy. It is said that he found meaning. Goes back to, it's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the happiness of pursuit. The meaning of life is to give life meaning. And he found meaning in doing something trivial. In this, I was tying this back to the idea that it doesn't matter if a story is real or not, as long as it has true wisdom and value in the real world. It doesn't matter. It could be as good as real. And that story is so true to life as a human. You don't know if anything matters. That's why Albert Camus talks about it, and how, because he came up with everything just absurd, but he believes you shouldn't despair with the idea that everything is absurd. You should find joy in life. Everything's absurd, so might as well find meaning and enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy life. And that's what he does, pushing the rock up the hill. He finds joy and meaning, even though it doesn't matter, even though he'll never reach his end, even though there's no purpose to it. He finds joy and fulfillment, and that's all that matters. And in the end, he's still, the gods condemned him to this fate, thinking they finally got him, thinking they would finally be able to, have him not pull a fast one, essentially, over them. But he does. He does again, because he accepts the fate that was supposed to make him miserable nobly, and he goes through it happily. So in the end, he still pulls one over the gods, because he says amor fati to his life, and he loves it. He loves his fate. Hardships can bring the best out of you, or they can bring the worst out of you. It's up to you. And hardships truly bring out who you truly are. So if you're going through a hardship and you're seeing the worst sides of yourself, that's who you are. And that's not, it's not good, but it's not bad. It's better that it's being shown and it's coming to the surface so you can work on it. I talk a lot about on here about we need to view ourselves as a statue. We need to view ourselves as chipping away at vices, chipping away at things that make us impure, until we chip away so much material that all is left is, the statue of David, a perfect statue, a beautiful statue that is not created by adding, it is created by chipping away ever so slightly at the imperfections. And when you go through hardships, these imperfections come to the surface, and you're able to, nip them in the butt and get rid of them, and you're better off for them. So welcome hardships. There's, as Seneca says, there's no enduring if you don't feel anything. You're not showing nobility in hardship if you're unaware of your hardship. If you're ignorant of your hardship, then there's no nobility in it. But if you're fully aware and you're fully internally you believe you have every right to despair, but you say no, and you bear it nobly, and you show virtue, and you show wisdom, and you show reason, then that's wisdom. And to the Stoics, that's how you live your life. That's how one should live life. And a byproduct of that is joy, is happiness. The Stoics, they talk about the paradox of pleasure. How showing moderation can be more pleasurable than self-indulgence. And it's paradoxical because, self-indulgence is just all for pleasure. But it's so fleeting, it's not lasting. But moderation is a slower pleasure, it's a lasting pleasure. It's not as fleeting, it's there to stay. It's true happiness. So paradoxically, something like moderation, that's, the whole point of it is not to get too much pleasure. You end up getting more pleasure than overindulgence, than in self-indulgence. And as I said, the misconception with the Stoics is that they don't agree with pleasure. but this is not, or they don't believe pleasure is good, and they don't. But they also don't believe pleasure is bad. They view it as an indifference. If you can act wisely and you get pleasure, great. But if you need to act wisely and that decision is going to be not pleasurable, then great. It's indifferent. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is acting with wisdom and virtue. And the byproduct of that is just joy and happiness. Temporary happiness leads to permanent sadness, I believe. Chasing temporary happiness is not true happiness. True happiness can't be taken away so easy. True happiness can't be taken away by anyone. If your internal state is paradise, then you can smile even in hell. And our internal state is truly up to us. So that should be music to our ears, because you can smile anywhere. You can smile going through anything, because it's how you bear things. It's not, things are neither good nor bad. Thinking makes them so. Somebody is working 6 days a week, 9-hour shifts, and someone's happy. Someone likes overtime, and someone views money as a good. So they're happy. Another isn't happy. Another wishes they could just work 5/8 and get through the week, and then have their weekend to go work on their true passions, work on things that they thoroughly enjoy, and try to work their way out of a job, not just work more at their job. Now, these two people have the same situation. One bears it as a good, and the other one bears it as a bad. So it can be neither. It is indifferent. Thinking is what is making it good for this person, and thinking is what is making it bad for this person. So it's an indifferent event. And you can choose to bear it nobly and accept it, or you can choose to despair. And the meaning of life is to give life meaning. So if you choose to despair, then you're choosing not to give life meaning. And I don't think if you told anybody that, they would willingly want to not give life meaning. But we do so often. People so often choose not to give their life meaning. They choose to have a bad attitude about things. They choose to have a bad outlook on situations. It's no way to live a life. Not things that upset us, but our judgments of things. You must fix your judgments. If Hercules viewed his life as unfortunate, as meaningless, he would have never became Hercules. He would have never rid the world of monsters, and he never would have made the world a better place. But instead, he viewed his fate as his chance to become great, to give it meaning. And he didn't let that stop him. He didn't let that stop his attitude from being good. And along the way, he made friends. He had a sense of purpose. I mean, like I said, it doesn't need to be a true story. Isn't that really what most people want nowadays? Just to have a sense of purpose. And that's what Hercules had. And that's what you can have if you just give life meaning. and you welcome things and bear things nobly. The path of virtue, the path of wisdom is not an easy path. It's a hard path, as the goddess describes to Hercules. But at the end of her describing the path, she says, after you reach the top, it's a straight path, it's flat, and it's easy, which means you will struggle for a long time and it won't be easy, but it'll be worth it in the end because you'll have strength of character, you'll be able to bear all things nobly, you will realize that the meaning of life is to give life meaning, and your path will turn easy because you have wisdom. And when you have wisdom and you have the self discipline to act upon your wisdom, life will become easy. Make the Herculean make the Herculean choice. Act with virtue. Choose a life of difficulty so you may unlock your true potential. Be great. I'll never understand why people want to live an average life, why nobody wants to be great, why everyone settles for mediocrity. I was thinking, I was watching a video yesterday and it made me think about equality and how the passage, all men are created in the image of God, may have suppressed greatness. Equality almost seems like it preaches mediocrity, wanting everyone to be the same, wanting no one to be great. And you see it time and time again in society. People like Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla is one of the probably smartest human beings ever. One of the most influential people nowadays, with what he discovered and his ideas. And, he came up with AC energy. And at the time, he was misunderstood. At the time, Nikola Tesla died in an apartment. Nikola Tesla died with no money to his name. Nikola Tesla died alone. One of the smartest people ever. One of the people who truly loved science, who truly gave all of his money to science. And he was viewed as crazy, and he was viewed as Nikola Tesla. And nowadays, Elon, has given Tesla credit with naming, Tesla after Tesla. At least I believe that's why he did it. I can't say that for certain, but it makes a lot of sense. And to me, Nikola Tesla could have been an Elon Musk. And even Elon is so, it seems like, misunderstood. So many people hate Elon Musk. One of the smartest people on the earth today. The person trying to make us multiplanetary. The person who works maybe more than any other human. And people hate him for what? For why? People hate greatness. They hate when you step out of the status quo and you try to do something. Elon Musk is loved by some, but hated by most, it seems. And Elon Musk if Elon Musk uniqueness was suppressed, we have nobody trying to get to Mars right now. We just human society would be worse off, I believe, without Elon Musk. And it almost seems like equality tries to suppress men like Elon Musk, tries to suppress men like Friedrich Nietzsche, tries to suppress men like Spinoza. Spinoza, Albert, when Albert Einstein was asked if he believed in God, he said he believed in Spinoza's God, which I'm not, I don't believe I'm well versed enough in Spinoza to give you a good explanation of that. But I think Spinoza, I'll give you a quick little thing. Spinoza often said God or nature. He believed God was nature and nature was God. And, when asked, Albert Einstein said, I believe in Spinoza's God. And Spinoza was a man who society didn't like. He questioned Christian views, and he was, I think, quote, like essentially exiled from the Jewish community he lived in. But Spinoza is considered one of the best philosophers of all time. Imagine what was going through Spinoza's head when nobody knew his name. He hadn't come up with any amazing philosophical truths. All he was doing was questioning the status quo, was questioning the norm, and he was put into exile. Imagine how he felt. After Spinoza becomes Spinoza, he probably he feels okay, But when he first questions everything and first truly starts becoming Spinoza, he's hated. People tell him no. Step back in line. Stop asking questions like that. Stop thinking like that. Why? Why is that? To be great is to be misunderstood. If people question how you live your life, if people question what you're doing, sometimes that's the best sign that you're on the right path. Sometimes that's the best sign that you're not becoming like everyone else. Because why would you want to be like everyone else? Like I was saying, like I was just saying, the greats are often misunderstood until they're not, and then nobody talks about it. No one talks about how Spinoza, people hated him. And there's so many people throughout history that was like for them. Like imagine Charles Darwin coming up with natural selection in a time of like the dogmatic Christian. Be ostracized, be hated. And I'm not saying I agree with Charles Darwin or I agree with natural selection or I agree that that's how we are here and that's how we evolved. But it's just a view. Like, why do we not want free thinkers? That's really what I'm trying to get at. And why do we not want people to be great? Why do we want everyone to be equal? We say all men are created equal, and then we point at communism as an evil. I'm not well versed in communism, but essentially it seems like equality at its finest. And I don't agree with communism. But if you truly believe in equality, where do you differ on communism? Like people are on their moral high horse sometimes. And I'm not saying I don't agree with equality either. But I do think Elon Musk is smarter than me. And I do think LeBron James is better at basketball than me. What does that mean? People have natural gifts. People are born different. We're all born different. We all we preach it that you're the only one ever. Your DNA makeup will never be again made. But then we tell you that you're equal to everyone else. What's so good about equality, anyways? I don't want to be like everyone else. Yeah, maybe having equal rights. Sure, sure. But being the same as you? Never. Never. Be great, you will be misunderstood. Try to accept that. And try to accept the misunderstanding as a sign that you are becoming great, not that you're straying from greatness. Often it is only after you have become quote unquote great that society accepts you. And even then, they sometimes don't. Most don't. A select few will, but even then, most don't. There'll be keyboard warrior couch potatoes who will preach till the day they die that Elon Musk is horrible. But what have they done other than watch, Naruto for Naruto 8 times, get to round 100 on zombies and you know be obese. But for some reason, they can find fault with a man like Elon Musk. Choose the hard path and understand if you choose the hard path, the path of virtue, the path of wisdom, you will be walking a lonely path. And you will be walking a path of greatness that will not be recognized until you get to the top. And even then, it may never be recognized. So don't walk the path to be recognized. Walk the path because wisdom is its own reward. Virtue is its own reward. And then a bonus rewards from wisdom and virtue are joy, happiness, fulfillment, purpose, love, light, life, true meaning. But the path will most likely be a lonely one and you will be misunderstood. But choose it.